Before we start today's video, I wanted to show you guys. You are so cute! Look at how he's just made himself comfortable in that spot. Hey guys, welcome to Vlogmas Day 2. Today I have a little bit of a different video for you. Today we're doing a college Q&A. I haven't done a Q&A, any kind of Q&A in over a year, and so I figured I'd do one today. As I mentioned in my previous vlog, literally posted it yesterday. If you guys haven't seen Vlogmas Day 1, you should go ahead and check that one out. But I mentioned that I have a big list of ideas that I've had since the beginning of this year, and I kind of wanted to just use Vlogmas as a way for me to get those ideas out there. This is a highly requested video from no one other than my cousin Valerie. She has been to every premiere, and she's definitely supported me throughout this whole YouTube thing from the very beginning, so I want to give a big shout out to her. Val, this is for you. And this is also to everyone who has some questions about my college experience. I know I talk about post-grad all the time, but I feel like it's not quite complete without talking about my actual college experience. So in this Q&A, I'm going to be answering a few questions regarding my college experience, from finances to relationships, just the things that I wish I knew when I was in college, and then also some just reflections of what I did, and yeah, let's just get right into it. Actually, before we get started, I just wanted to remind everyone that these experiences are my own personal ones, and my advice, my answers, and all of those things are just coming from those personal experiences. I want to remind you guys that not everyone's journey is the same, especially now with COVID changing on-campus rules and schools moving online. I definitely don't want anyone feeling like they're not on the right track just because they have a different opinion or are following a different path. Like I said, this is just based on my own personal experiences. And with that said, let's get right into it. So some of these questions actually came from Val, who is in college herself, along with some of her friends, and some of them actually also came from Instagram. I looked at these questions and I didn't try to think too deeply about them yet because I wanted to make sure that I answered them here with you guys, but I did split them up into different categories. So the first topic that we're gonna cover is college choices / preparation. The first question is, what were your top college choices and why did you end up picking Pacific University? So actually with that question, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit and we're gonna talk about my background. So I went to Pacific University and it took me 4.5 years to graduate, which means 4 full years and an extra semester before I got my official diploma. I graduated with a bachelor's in exercise science, which is now called kinesiology at my school, along with a computer science minor. For my current job, I am now a technical support engineer for Plaid, which is a tech company based in San Francisco, and I am working 100% fully remote. And with that said, let's go ahead and get into the question. And the question once again was, what were your top college choices and why did you end up picking Pacific University? So at the end of my senior year of high school, I ended up getting into Pacific University, which is in Oregon. It's in the Portland metro area, which is not quite in Portland. It's about maybe 45 minutes away from the city, but close enough to where we can go there over the weekends. It's definitely not as far as like U of O is from Portland. And the other school that I was considering was San Diego State. I ended up going to Pacific University because they offered me an opportunity to be a collegiate athlete. I actually did pole vaulting in college for 2 years.
Wow.
My experience as a D3 athlete is definitely like for another video. But yeah, so that was the main reason why I decided to go to Pacific University. The next question is, what did you major in? Did you ever switch majors? So as I mentioned, I majored in exercise science and I minored in computer science, but yes, I did switch majors. I think I switched majors like maybe 5 times. So it was definitely a whole journey getting to my final like bachelor's degree. But yeah, so that was my major, and I guess I definitely switched majors. Moving on to self-care. How did you take care of yourself during really stressful times? Finals, midterms, long papers.
Bruh.
College was definitely a time when I didn't know how to take care of myself and I didn't know how to address my mental health. So I think the way that I was able to take care of myself during stressful times was to just remind myself that it wasn't permanent. And honestly, if I could go back in time and tell myself something when I'm stressed out, it's to not stress too much about it. Just take it as it comes and do my best. I don't think I really did much self-care. I feel like the only self-care I ever did would be to binge watch Grey's Anatomy. Oh, and I got boba. a lot. That was my form of self-care. Moving on to social life. The first one was, how did you find your community or friends through college, and how did you know you're with the right people? Whew, well, I feel like I'm someone who never really found my community in college. I feel like I hung out a lot with my teammates and I got along with a lot of different people, which I think is the reason why I never really had like a set group of friends that I hung out with all the time. I hung out with people who were in my major, hung out with people who were in my minor, and I think that was the way that I was able to find like my group of friends. Looking back, I think my closest college friends were definitely the people that I worked with a lot, and we just bonded over all-nighters and trying to problem solve, especially in my computer science classes. In terms of knowing that I was with the right people, I think that is just through intuition. Like, you kind of just know when you're being treated the right way and when people are being genuine towards you. You know when you're with the right people. You feel really comfortable and you just don't second guess it at all. Okay, I feel like my angles are a little bit different because my camera died and I had to change out my battery, so if it's a little different, I apologize. Moving on to the next question, what are your thoughts about being in a relationship during college? This question is tough. So some of you guys know that I'm engaged. My fiance and I met when I was a sophomore in college, and prior to our relationship I was actually in a relationship from high school. So I went into college in a relationship. Although I don't want to say I have any regrets, if I could do it over again, would not go into college in a relationship. That's just my personal opinion. I mean, I've known so many people who have been with their college sweethearts like all throughout college even, but for me personally and the type of person that I was, I just don't think it was smart for me to be in a relationship going into college. I was also in a long distance relationship, so that just made things a lot worse. So those are my thoughts on having a relationship in college. Just don't do it.
She belongs to the street.
No, but seriously, I would just say make sure that you take the time to get to know yourself more. And if you are in a relationship and you guys are planning on making it work during college and everything, I would just say make sure to give yourself some space to truly find yourself. A lot of people say you can't find yourself in a relationship, but I've been in one for almost 5 years and I think you can. I mean, it's definitely harder because you have another person to consider, but it's not impossible. Just make sure you make time for yourself, communicate, don't be toxic, and yeah, those are my thoughts. Activities and co-curriculars. What was it like being a student athlete for a while? It was honestly hard. Being a student athlete is like having a second job. Since I was in D3, it wasn't as demanding as D1 schools are or D1 athletics are. For those of you guys who don't know the difference, D1 athletics is pretty much when the school gives you a scholarship in order to play the sport at that school. So I think in my experience, compared to someone who went to a D1 school, I had a lot less pressure to perform well, and I also didn't have a hard time like leaving. I mentioned that I only did pole vaulting for 2 years, and that's because we had a really fast turnaround time when it comes to coaches, and it just didn't really help with my like development as an athlete. And by the end of it, I felt like I was just dragging my feet and I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. So I decided that I wanted to really focus more on my studies, which is why I stopped. And then my senior year, I actually went back to coach for a little bit. But it was still really fun. You know, you go to college and everything is new, but finding a group of people like a team, you know, like a sports team who you share something in common with actually made the transition a little bit easier, I would say. Let's talk about finances next. What jobs did you have? How did you earn money? I feel like my resume is like all over the place, but in college specifically, I did a lot of work study, but I tried to make sure that I got work study jobs that were in like my field of work. I worked a lot in athletics. I worked in the fitness center. I worked as an athletic trainer's assistant. I also worked for Starbucks. Starbucks I recommend to every college student because they have really flexible schedules. I mean, I know that it depends on the store, but my store specifically had really flexible schedules, and they also had really early schedules. So if you have a Starbucks that's open at like 4 o'clock in the morning, you can do like a 4 to 9, and then I would have like a 10 a.m. or an 11 a.m. class. Or on the flip side, they also had like a 4 to 9 p.m. So I would go to school and then go to work. So that being said, you just have a lot of flexibility with jobs like Starbucks. Starbucks also has their own like college program. I believe they pay for your entire school. Granted, it's online, but still, a degree is a degree. So that's how I earned money in college. How did you save money / budget during college? I didn't.
Bruh.
I feel like my money management was so bad. So I would highly recommend people to take like a money management class. My fiance took like a finance 101 class, which helped him a lot after he graduated. I think maybe my senior year and junior year, because I was already off campus, I did have to budget for groceries. So I would say just every month, I would take a look at your paycheck and allocate money for certain things like groceries or gas money and things like that. So my biggest tip is definitely to learn a little bit more about finances while you're in college. So yeah, I guess I would just say don't be like me. Save your money and learn how to budget. You have a lot of resources online. Expand your financial knowledge while you can, because when you get to the real world, no one's gonna hold your hand. Moving on to the reflection side of these questions. What is one thing you would tell your college self? It's hard. Watch this video. I would tell her not to worry so much. And C's get degrees, baby. Do you think college was worth it, or was it a waste of money? I feel like, especially in the tech space, this is talked about all the time. Within the tech industry, there are a lot of people who are self-taught or went to boot camps. I think it just depends on the person, the kind of learner that you are, and the kind of industry that you're trying to get yourself into. Because if you're trying to go into tech, then you definitely don't need a degree. But if you're trying to go into healthcare, then you definitely need a degree. The one thing I'm definitely thankful for that I feel like I couldn't have gotten in a boot camp would just be the ability to explore a lot of my different interests. I'm someone who was interested in so many different things, and I feel like college was able to give me the environment to explore those different things, even though it was super expensive having gone to a private school. I'm super thankful for my experiences and everything that it's taught me. What was one thing you've discovered about yourself during your college life, and how did that impact your life now? How much I neglect my mental health. Mental health is a whole other topic. But I open up about it quite a lot on my Instagram. So yeah, I've tried to open up about mental health a lot in the past year, especially during the pandemic. Some of you guys may know that I actually started therapy this year. I think that's something that I was really trying to get into in college, but just wasn't ready for. I just never really prioritized it. But I knew I needed to go to therapy, and I knew that I needed to address my mental health and take it a lot more seriously. So after college, which is how it's impacting my life now, I told myself I need to make it a priority, and it's definitely a work in progress. It's something that I would have to work on every day. But yeah, that's definitely one thing that I discovered about myself. And our last category of today is post-grad. How hard was it to find a job after undergrad? This is hard to talk about without talking about my career switch, but in terms of healthcare, it wasn't hard to find a job. I did a lot of volunteer work in hospitals during undergrad, so when it came to actually applying for a hospital or a healthcare job, it wasn't that hard to find. The thing about healthcare is that it's always in demand, but it is hard to juggle like finances and working in healthcare at the same time, because most of the time you're going to be underpaid. And in that regard, I don't think it was hard to find a job at all. I think you just need to know where to look. So if you want to go into healthcare, I definitely recommend looking at different clinics in your area, different hospitals in your area. You just need to know what your resources are and where to look. Networking is also key in tech, and don't just network just to get a job. And even if you do get a referral, you have to still put in the work in order to get through the interview. So I would say definitely network, use your resources just like in healthcare, you know, go on LinkedIn. Twitter has been a network that a lot of tech people I know have found jobs in. I think for both industries, just putting yourself out there, reaching out to companies that you're interested in, yeah, those would be the ways to try and find a job. How do you deal with imposter syndrome? I don't know. That's something I'm really struggling with. I mean, even with YouTube, I deal with imposter syndrome. I guess I just try to remind myself, especially in my current job, that I've earned this position. Like I mentioned, I got this position through a referral, but I don't think I would have gotten this job if it wasn't for me putting in the work, studying, and prepping for the interview. Yeah, just reminding myself of that. Like, I worked hard for this, and if it wasn't for the hard work that I'd put in even prior to switching careers, I don't think I would have qualified. And also just being nicer to myself, and especially with YouTube. Everyone talks about how YouTube is so oversaturated, so I'm just one extra person that you can watch on the internet, and if you vibe with me, cool. If not, whatever. And no one expects you to be perfect, so stop expecting that out of yourself too. Alright you guys, that concludes our Q&A segment. This was definitely a longer video than I expected it to be, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I think it was definitely a good way for you to get to know me a little bit better and just to know kind of my journey and my thoughts and things like that. I feel like I don't have very many videos where I actually do explain who I am and what I've done and, you know, all of that stuff. And I actually enjoy these sit-down videos, so maybe I will do more of them in the future. If you guys like this video, go ahead and give this a thumbs up, comment down below, and tell me your college takeaway. If you went to college, and if you didn't go to college, tell me one takeaway that you got from not going to college. Everyone is welcome here, and I am so thankful for you guys, as always, for supporting this channel, as well as for supporting me. I feel like the community that I've found here online is definitely like a genuine community. I enjoy interacting with all of you guys. I'm definitely trying to find a way to connect with you guys a little bit more, whether that's through Discord or posting more in the community tab on YouTube or even on Instagram. So if you guys have any ideas for that as well, go ahead and let me know in the comments. If you have made it this far, thank you once again. This is day 2 of Vlogmas 2021, and I will see you guys for Vlogmas day 3.